Welcome to this edition of Peak Performers Podcast with your host, Thor Conklin. Thor will be sharing the necessary tools, strategies, and psychology you'll need to become a peak performer in any area of your life or business.
Welcome back to another episode of the Peak Performance Podcast. I'm your host, Thor Conklin. Today, we're going to talk about the importance of relationships and how key they are to accomplishing anything that you want in your business or your life. Whenever I sit down and I start the process of onboarding a new client, now we do business coaching. That's it. We don't do personal coaching. We do business coaching. But as we all know, who's running the business? The person. So it's a key part that we address the person first and foremost. If we want great results in the business, we've got to have great results in the person. And there's 4 areas. I call them Thor's Core 4. First is body. What's the body like? What's your nutrition like? What is your health like? We've got to make sure that we have goals and that we're strengthening that area consistently throughout the process. Number 2, mind. What is our mental health? How are we feeding our mental engine? What are we doing to meditate and to educate and to create a mind that is willing and able to respond to the demands that we're going to have in our business? Next, relationships. What are your relationships like? Personal, professional. That includes clients and vendors and spouses and kids. You know, if there's something going on in the relationship sector, it affects everything. If you've got bad health, that affects everything. If the mind isn't right, that affects everything. And then the last one is business and finance. So before we start digging into each of these, I want to talk today about relationships. And one of the things that we teach here is that you need to start to form a core group around you. So if you actually took let me say this. A client just the other day showed me an example of what he did on, I call it the 5, 25, 100 group. And what this means is that you have a core group around you, your inner tribe of 5 people that you spend the most time with, and they're going to actually have the biggest impact on you. Doesn't matter who they are, but they better be badasses because these people are going to influence you greatly. Next, you're going to have a group of 25 people around that. These are people that you spend a little less time with, but very important to you, and they're helping grow you as an individual and as an executive, an entrepreneur, to get you to the next level. And then above that, you've got a circle of about 100 people that you stay in touch with, you may grab a beer with from time to time, but these are the people that you want to continue to nurture and have in your inner circle. Well, circle, some are more inner than others, but you get the concept. And yesterday it was really interesting because a client actually took this concept. I have it in a spreadsheet, right? So I'm a linear thinker. I've got my 5, I got my 25, I got the 100. And he actually put it on a sheet of paper. And what he did was he took the middle and he drew a circle and he put his name in there. And then he took his 5 around that circle. And then depending on how important they were to him, he actually made them bigger or smaller, depending on what sort of influence. And actually, there were some of the 25 that were next to the circle as well, but you could see which ones were the 5. Then beyond that, he had circles. He didn't have all 100 members of that. He didn't have all 100 on this sheet. But what was interesting was, and it actually made me quite emotional at the time, because I had no idea the impact that I was having on this client's life. And, you know, it's interesting because if you're in a business that's similar to mine, the impact that you can have on people, businesses, employees is massive. And sometimes we forget about just how powerful that can be. So he actually showed me his sheet. He took his sheet and he held it up. And there I was, right next to his circle, highlighted in yellow, and probably on the bigger size compared to everybody else. And I really started to tear up. I got emotional because here it is that I'm having such an impact on him and his business that I was that close to the center. And I was surprised. I guess when I think about it, I shouldn't be surprised, but it took me off guard. So 2 things for today's episode. One is, if you don't have an inner circle, you haven't sat down and figured out who you want to spend the most time with and who you want to have the most influence on and have them have the most influence on you, figure that out. I don't care if it's 5, 6, 10, doesn't matter. I just do 5, 25, and 100. Write down those names. Let them know that they're part of your inner circle. Figure out your 25 that you're going to spend a little bit less time with, but still extremely important to you. Because it's so easy to get distracted with people that don't fit into these buckets and they're just looking for your time. You need to eliminate those distractions. Spend the time with the people that you want to and make it deliberate. After you do this, and after you let them know how important they are to you, figure out in your business, who are you having the biggest impact on? And what is your value that you're providing your customers, your employees? And what sort of impact are you making? And what do you need to make an even bigger impact? I don't care if it's your spouse, your kids, clients, just friends. How can you go into that relationship and add even more value than you are today? Because at the end of the day, relationships are about where you go to give value, not extract it. And the biggest blessings in my life has always been where I go in asking nothing in return and giving everything. That has been the biggest lesson and thing that I want to pass along to everyone I know. Give, provide value, and it's amazing what comes back. And you just may find one day that somebody has you right next to them and you're a part of that inner 5 and you're making a tremendous impact on their life and their business. So I wish you the very best. Relationships are key. I don't want to say that it's the most important one out of everything that I do, but without the relationship piece, doesn't matter. You cannot build an amazing business if your relationships are broken. You've got to have this bucket, this pillar addressed, strong, and continuing to strengthen. Have an absolutely amazing day, and I look forward to seeing you back here on the Peak Performance Podcast.